So remember, you have this packet of stitchery directions, and they go through explaining it, and they have a visual. So I'm gonna show you this chain stitch. It's a little bit harder one, but once you do a couple, it's not as hard as you thought it was. So again, I put some yarn through the eye of the needle, and then again I've got to tie that knot again nice and tight over my finger, roll it off, squeeze it down, and remember that goes on the back. I'm actually going to do another circle out here so that you can see this a little better. So I'm going to go up in the fabric, and then what I need to do for this is I'm kind of going right back down, not necessarily in the exact same hole, but in that general spot there. And you have to leave this kind of sticking out, and then if I want to go this direction, I'm going to actually put my needle up in there first. So I'm going to get the needle right because I want this yarn to go around the needle. And watch how that works. So you have to get the needle up in the fabric before you pull it all the way tight, otherwise it's not going to come around this spot here. This is where that chain looks begins. So again, I'm going to go back down kind of where that one went, and then I want to find a spot that I want the chain to go, so that way, and then I'm going to wrap this one around it before I pull it. And you can see a chain is starting to form. So again, I'm going to go back where I came, and then find where I want that chain to go, like maybe here, and then wrap that yarn around there, and then begin to pull. And you can see the chain that's starting to form, and I can go all the way around like that. I went ahead and stopped the chain stitch. I will take it all the way around eventually, but I want to show you another stitch. So putting this through the eye, and I'm going to tie that knot. And then this is the front, so I want to make sure I go to the back. So I'm going to do this circle here. If you're losing some of your lines, you can always try to redraw that with that chalk. So a satin stitch, if you look at this example here, this is like maybe a leaf. It's one stitch laying right next to the next stitch, and it fills up that shape. So this uses a lot more yarn than some of the other stitches. So what I'm going to do is start right on the edge here, and I go from one side. Whoops, the knot was not big enough. Let me try that again. So if that happens, you just need to make another knot. It probably just wasn't big enough to hold through that hole of the needle. Pull it a little less tighter. And then I'm going to go up here. And then the next one I go right next to it. So I'm going to go over a little bit. I want to touch that stitch with this one so it gets slightly bigger. And this is where you want to make sure they're right next to each other. So this is sort of like a coloring with stitches, basically. Remember, if you mess up, just take the yarn off the needle and do it again. No big deal. So I will keep going until I fill up this circle, and then I will come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, here I have finished this space. If you look on the back, it should still look fairly clean, except you're just seeing all the knots that we've put on here. So I'm gonna pull that tight, just like we have been. I like to do it twice, just in case. And then you can cut right above that knot. So here you have learned 3 stitches. I'm sorry, 4. You have your back stitch, your running stitch, the chain stitch, and the satin stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the cross stitch. So remember, that looks like an X as you finish those. So we're going to go ahead and do that in this space in between here. Again, I'm just still kind of doing some circles. Oops, and my thing just fell out of the eye, so I just have to redo that. Again, try not to have to lick these. It's just kind of gross. Okay, and then you're kind of just making a diagonal small line. And then I'm going to go up and make another diagonal small line. So you do kind of one side of the X's all the way, and then you go back and crisscross them. So I'll show you that in a second. I'll just do a few here. Now these aren't in a straight line, which makes them a little bit more difficult than the paper shows you. Okay, so if I'm going to go here and I'm going to start that X, I should be going back over to the top of that one. Oh, I lost this again. This does happen. Sometimes it's if you're not pulling at the thread and you're just pulling the needle, it will come back out of your needle. So when you do that, hold right here. Okay, there's one X. And then once I go over this one, I go to the top of that one. So they kind of touch on their tops. This would be easier if you're doing a straight line. It's a little more difficult going in a curve. So that's just 3, but if you're going to do a whole row of them, I would do a bunch and then crisscross them. So I can fill up this whole space with that cross stitch. Okay, here's an example where I am running out of thread, but I am not finished with this. I still have to just stop there and tie that knot. Otherwise, I'm not going to have enough to tie a knot later. So I'm going to tie that knot, and then I would just get some more of this purple yarn and start again to finish that space. So that will happen. Okay, I'm going to stop there for today, and you are welcome to look over this packet with the other ones. There's still seeding that you could do. So go through these and check through those. Remember, you're working off your plan sheet. That should help